Hey guys, so today I want to talk to you about the computer game that is launching on QUBIC called My Last Match. And I really want to talk about this computer game in more detail as we go on through some videos on this channel, because this game is a big deal. And y- most of you probably will hear this and think, geez, this guy's going crazy when I say this, but I think potentially, I don't know for a fact because I don't know anything for a fact, but I think potentially there's a really high chance that this could be the most important computer game ever released, or at least one of them. I don't know the computer gaming industry inside out or anything like that. I just play computer games, but one of them, let's say, I don't want to get overhyped, one of the most important computer games that's ever been released, and I got to explain to you why. So yeah, if we start off, we can see that there's a blog post made recently. I'm going to go through this just on the most recent updates on My Last Match, and man, it just sounds amazing. I'm going to try and put some clips of what I think the My Last Match game will look like in here in a minute. But if we look at the developer's background, so the developers are from a game called Wicked Days, and basically they have prior experience in game development, having worked on the Wicked Days, a survival game that was released in 2021. And hopefully, if I think of it now, I'll be putting that on screen so that you can watch a bit of that game just in the background. And that's, they released this game in 2021, so you imagine 4 years later they'll be building a game that looks way better. And it was a tactical command game, and that prior project and things that they worked on in the past showed how skilled they are to work on something like My Last Match. And My Last Match is going to be what's called a massive multiplayer online game, or an MMO game. So it's, massive amount of people can play it. Um, and this is where it gets really interesting. So basically said here, what the finished game will look like: a unified real-time world. So one thing, this is what they wrote in their blog post, is one thing that really stands out about My Last Match will be the scope. Instead of splitting players into separate groups or servers, which is what most games nowadays do, you might join a game and you might only be playing with 20 people or maybe 50 people. My Last Match, their goal is to create one big interconnected world where up to 50,000 people can interact at once. The technology behind this is expected to be impressive, with only a 50 millisecond latency. This will ensure actions happen almost instantly, and every decision will affect everyone else. Now that's unbelievable. Actually, I think I made a post about this recently, and I said nanoseconds, so that I was wrong about that, but milliseconds anyway. So when you shoot someone and they die, that instantly updates everyone in the game. When you buy something, everyone in the game instantly knows you bought something. If you do something that affects the whole world, it will, within 50 milliseconds, instantly affect everyone. And they're saying that at the moment this game is going to be up to 50,000 people interacting at once. I believe with Cubic and the way it's coded into bare metal, and it can it improves with hardware updates. I think in time, far more than 50,000 people will probably, I don't know that for a fact, but be able to play this game. And then they said that My Last Match won't just be another post-apocalyptic game. Its mechanics will reflect the gritty realism of survival. Set in the 90s, the game world incorporates challenges like gasoline degradation, which makes only diesel vehicles viable. Safe houses act as lifelines for trade, crafting, and protection. The map is richly detailed, featuring diverse locations like city centres, villages, and forests, each with strategic challenges for players to overcome. So it sounds incredible. Um, Safe houses, hubs of strategy and economy. Safe houses are pivotal in My Last Match, with an original count of 676. Many safe houses have since been converted into vehicles, pets, or bonus upgrade points. These structures serve as respawn points, trading hubs, and shelters, creating a player driven economic system. Owners will be able to charge reincarnation fees, adding strategic layers to their asset management. Safe houses range from simple public restrooms to higher tier subway platforms and floating aerostats, giving players a chance to stake their claim in the evolving game world. Amazing. So you can own all these things, which is unbelievable. Like, everything in this game sounds like it can be owned, and obviously it's all going to be owned on chain, and the chain is going to be Cubic. and own through NFTs, which I just think is wild. And the minute you buy something, it's going to update straight away. Psychological gameplay, mares and dementals. Survival in My Last Match will include psychological challenges through mares and dementals. Mares will haunt the darkness, causing players to lose sanity when nearby. This will force reliance on light, but light sources will also attract dementals. Humans driven insane by fear and the influence of mares. The mentals will retain rudimentary intelligence, making them dangerous but also valuable as sources of loot. Navigating the balance between light, darkness, and mental stability will become essential for survival. Sounds like a really, really cool game. A really messed up game. Some of the stuff that I've been hearing about children getting eaten in this game is going to be pretty wild. But basically, you can see this is going to be kind of like a Grand Theft Auto sort of game, but based in a different, dark and crazy, scary post-apocalyptic world. But the important thing is it's all on chain. Key highlights: in-game transactions. All transactions from purchases to rewards are made using QUBIC coins. And a big note there is during every transaction, there's a fee, and that fee is going to get paid out to shareholders who own some of My Last Match game and people who own some of QUBIC Capital, which I've made another video about in the past. You actually can earn passive income from this game. So imagine if this game gets really big and it's earning thousands every day, and that's getting paid out to you as a shareholder. I mean, you can earn some serious passive income from this game. Not only that, but for every transaction, some QUBIC will get burned as well. So this game is going to start reducing the supply of QUBIC, which is very interesting. Asset ownership. Players truly own their assets, which can be traded, transferred, or sold with validation on chain, which is just amazing. True ownership in a game. Multiplayer interactions, from competitive matches to collaborative quests. My Last Match creates endless possibilities for player interaction, which is so cool. And I imagine you can probably earn QUBIC by playing competitions on this game as well. Crafting and economy. My Last Match will boast a player-driven crafting system with community-contributed recipes, from survival tools to portable shelters. Crafting will be essential for progress. The in-game economy will use QUBIC as currency, enabling seamless integration with the broader blockchain ecosystem. So, when they say player-driven crafting systems, I think what they're saying is that you're going to be able to change the game or change things in the game or create things in the game. That's what I'm understanding. I could be wrong there. So the progress so far is in pre-beta phase. Just doing bug fixes, map updates, system testing, and the beta launch timeline is coming, but there's no fixed timeline as yet. Depends on how things go during testing. What's clear is the team wants to make sure everything's solid before opening it up, so they're really trying hard to make sure that the game actually works well, which is good. That's what we want to see. But I'm guessing we're going to see the beta of this game this year. But then, I went and just made a post online about, hopefully, if I remember, I'll just bring up some shots of what I think My Last Match is going to look like from the Wicked Days previous game, just back in here. But, I made a post there recently just saying about that this game is so much more interesting than just a game. And this is why I think it's such a big deal. I think it's got a much more important purpose. Why would Sergei Ivancheglo decide to prioritize a computer game as one of the first projects? And I'll talk about that in a second, why and their history with computer games. But, think about, what is a computer game? A computer game is generally just a simulation of real life. And My Last Match is a simulated real world. So the goal here, or thought here, is that if My Last Match works, what does that mean? As far as I can see, it means that the theory used in My Last Match can be applied to the real world. So all that thing about the smart contracts that are going to be executed constantly in My Last Match, the scalability that's going to be applied in My Last Match, the ownership that happens in My Last Match, trades that occur real time in the real world, and the NFTs, all this, and that, the proof then that QUBIC could scale to serve the needs of the real world, that's all going to be displayed in a computer game. And it's going to show then that QUBIC can be applied to the real world. And I think that should attract many developers to build in QUBIC when they realize what the network is capable of. My last match is just a proof of concept, much in the way the Quotary is a proof of concept for smart contracts and oracles. So, from what I can see, Sergei Ivancheglo has a plan that he's executing on, and it's going to be fun just seeing this play out. Last thing then I just want to share. So this just shows the kind of completeness of Sergei Ivancheglo's plan and what he's been thinking about. So again, I've been showing you loads of these posts lately if you've been following me on X or here on YouTube. But I've been going back through old posts of Come From Beyond to Sergei Ivancheglo. And if we go back to 2014, he people are just asking how many man hours he's putting into a previous project, and he was talking about this one called Gin, which, as far as I know, was some sort of computer game development, and now that's been incorporated into QUBIC and is more just QUBIC based completely now. But this is how Sergei Ivancheglo answered. He said, "I've been working in game development since 1997. You can find some of my game development related articles dated by the last century. At some point around 2004, he was saying, I switched to massive multiplayer online games, back end parts. So he started working on these huge games. He said the performance of these massive multiplayer online games engines didn't satisfy me, even after I tried to squeeze every ounce of it from what I had. So he basically was saying back then he was trying to do everything he could to scale these multiplayer online games and make them work, but he couldn't squeeze enough out of it to make them actually work as he wants to have a real online simulated world. So he said then that he moved from operating systems level closer to the silicon, which was bare metal operating system and the UFI coding. But it only made it obvious that the fact that the instant processing of events in distributed environment is impossible. So basically, what he said is back then in 2014 is that he talked about this bare metal deployment back then and coding in UFI. So this is when he was learning that. And basically, this is what QUBIC does now. It interacts completely with the bare metal, the RAM of your computer. It doesn't work through an operating system, so it removes all that lag. And this is how he learned that stuff. It was back in 2004 when he was trying to squeeze all he could out of these games. And he must have just been like seeing all this come together in QUBIC. And now you see he's actually done this with QUBIC and created QUBIC. And this game, My Last Match, has been a plan for over 10 years as well, as we can see, like a developing plan. So Gin, which has now become part of QUBIC, is launched to provide a way to come as close to the limits of this world as possible. So he's basically trying to, as we explained, he's trying to overcome the limits of actual hardware. Is the next limitation that he has to come true. How many man hours has been put? I spent years on that. Gin, so QUBIC basically now in My Last Match is sprung from the very dream that made me study a big bunch of programming languages and technologies. So I mean, again, this goes deep. This guy has been working on so much for so long, and you're just seeing all that stuff come together, and it blows my mind. I can't wait to see what My Last Match looks like and ends up being. I think it's probably going to be incredible, but I don't know for definite. Time's only going to tell, but it's looking really, really promising. And this guy, man, his roots in this stuff goes back a long, 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 long way, and that is really exciting. That's all I've got for you today, guys. I'll see you all on the outside.